Welcome to Self-Care in the City. So, you know that this is the space where I talk to UK wellness founders who are doing their thing, find out more about them, find out more about what they're doing, and really get you guys to understand what's going on in the wellness world that you need to know about. So, as you know, in terms of the structure, we run every conversation through a simple 3-2-1. 3 insights from their lived experience, 2 practical takeaways that you can apply right away, and 1 final reflection that they give you that's designed just to stay with you, something that you can think about. So I'm really excited, everyone. Today's conversation is about something most of us are living with, but don't always have the language for. Or we don't have it for yet. We're feeling constantly switched on, right? We're feeling like we're depleted half the time. We're feeling like we're trying to think our way out of something that actually lives in our body. So this is why my guest today is Sophia Hodges. Hi, Sophia.
Hi, Chantal.
I'm so glad to have you here. So everyone, Sophia works at this kind of intersection of physiology, energy, and lived human experience. And she's helping people understand what's really and actually happening inside their bodies when they feel exhausted, when they feel overwhelmed, dysregulated, all the good stuff. Especially when you feel disconnected yourself. And she's really working right now in what I call an energy lab with women. And we'll get into that lab in a little bit, because I've actually been one of her guinea pigs. So it's been quite interesting. We'll have that as part of our conversation later. But what I love about Sophia's work is that it brings something deeply human back into the wellness conversation. That's the understanding that our bodies aren't simply things to fix or optimize, but systems constantly communicating with us, right? Sophia, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Just back from the gym. I've just been doing some personal training with some clients.
Look at you, already doing the work, doing the do, practicing what you preach. Love it. I'm just going to jump right into finding out more about you. I think we can always start with other kind of questions, but I'd like to get our audience to know who you are and what actually led you into this work in the first place.
Oh, well, I could give you a short answer, which is a passion for people, for fitness, for food, and for life. And then I could give you a longer answer. If you'd like me to delve into that, I can.
Yeah, let's hear it. We want to know about you. I want people to know who you are.
Okay, well, so I've had quite a squiggly career. So I've done all sorts of different things, from walking guiding to cycle guiding to all sorts. And then my sort of main career before children was in corporate social responsibility. I worked in a global investment bank, running the employee fundraising programs. So a lot of employee engagement and a lot of, I really enjoyed the people aspect of that and the relationships and getting people doing stuff that they might not otherwise have done, that was fulfilling and had purpose and sort of added another colour to their life at the bank. And then I worked as a consultant across businesses, charities, philanthropists, and worked in the third sector for a bit. And then I had a couple of children and sat back and thought, right, I think I want to do something different. And I didn't know what. And so I trained as a personal trainer as a bit of a kind of hobby job, just to kind of, whilst I figured out what I was going to do next. And I have not looked back. I just absolutely loved the depth that I could go into on anatomy, physiology, nutrition, motivational coaching. And it's everything I love, right? It's people, it's fitness, it's food, it's life. So that was really good. And I love all that. I still do it to this day for the love of it. And then through doing that, I'm constantly studying, even to this day. And I did a course in practical stress resilience coaching with the amazing Ollie Patrick, who's a top-notch physiologist. And I learnt about, the autonomic nervous system and how our stress and recovery patterns are so important for our well-being. And that introduced me also to the technology that I use in my business today. I use Firstbeat technologies to measure heart rate variability and to see these stress and recovery patterns. We might talk about that a little bit more later. And I just, the combination of my sort of nerdy passion for it, but also what I was seeing in real life in the gym with my PT clients. And I was finding that people were living with unnecessary restrictions that they were kind of tolerating. And I just felt there's so much that I could help them with, not just in the gym, but in life generally, because, if someone's only doing 1 or 2 sessions in the gym a week and the rest of the time they're sedentary, then that's, there's so much more we can do. And so I became very interested in the whole picture, how someone moves, how they think, how they eat, how they sleep. And so this really kind of, is where it all began. So I told you there was a short answer and a long answer.
I love the long answer because it really gave this whole perspective of you. This didn't really start just as theory for you. It started as something lived and experienced in real time. And that's where you came from. But I am going to go back to a little bit more of a human point, because I think our audience would be interested to know something that people would never guess about you based on the work you do now. Is there anything that you could share with us? You feel comfortable sharing with us?
Well, that's a tricky one. I mean, there could be so many different answers, couldn't there? I mean, I guess I'm not exceptionally good at avoiding stress myself. Okay. I'm the mother of 2 children. I work. I have, all sorts of pressures. But I am exceptionally aware of what happens if one doesn't get recovery. Okay. And so, so I think with your question of what would people never guess about me, I guess it's that I'm like the rest of it, I'm like everyone else. I find it really difficult. I'm always working on my stress and that sort of managing those acute moments of stress. I'm still working on, but I feel like I'm getting more of a grip now on balancing that over time, and that's the important thing, because
that's so honest of you. So thank you for being that honest with me, with our audience. I think it's really actually helpful to kind of know that the teachers sometimes they struggle too. They're just as human as we are, and they go through those struggles. But actually, that even makes it better sometimes, because we know that you've been through it, so you really understand us as the student as well as someone who's struggling. So yeah, I love that answer. Thanks for sharing that with us. I'm going to dive now into insights, because I said that we get 3 insights from you, and I really want our audience to be able to get that kind of information from you. I'm going to start off with, I think, mindset versus the body, and I want to start with that relationship between stress, the mind, the body, because I think a lot of people see those things sometimes separately. And at what point does stress stop becoming mental in our heads and start becoming physiological?
Okay, so I would actually argue that stress is physiological right from the very beginning.
Okay.
Because like mental stress is just the brain sort of interpreting something as overwhelming or sort of demanding beyond our capacity, right? Or maybe it's something emotionally significant, right? But the body responds instantly, sometimes before our brain's even caught up, our mind's even caught up, right? Sometimes you feel this in your body before you're even aware of what it is, right? And that is the body responding to this moment of stress. And so the heart rate increases, it starts pumping blood around your body, trying to get the glucose to the muscles and get you activated for whatever it is that you're facing. And so Yeah, so I would say that actually it is physiological. And so the question is not so much whether stress is mental or physiological, but whether we can actually return to recovery afterwards. And it's that matters, because if we have a short burst of stress and the body reacts, responds, and then goes back to normal, that's fine. But if we are chronically in that elevated stress state and we're unable to return, then we start seeing some physiological issues and problems, and things like, at first it might just be the thing that you get when you're run down, maybe that cold sore, or that, I don't know, frequent coughs and colds and things like that. But on a sort of longer term basis, if that carries on for longer, then you can run into some really, serious physiological problems.
Is that getting down to like really internal organ kind of really not functioning as
yeah, exactly. So things like high blood pressure or metabolic dysfunction, having too high glucose, or that can lead into diabetes, and cardiovascular problems as well.
And I think some people think they can just mindset their way through exhaustion, just thinking stronger and big, but actually the body's now sounding an alarm, I guess. So yeah, I hear what you're saying in terms of that physiological, actually, that it is more so than just mental. Yeah. If we look then now to, let's talk about wellness and culture and control. There's something I hear more and more about, and actually in different ways, to be fair. Wellness culture today, it's often like control, desire, that's disguised as care. Are we becoming more disconnected from our bodies in the name of optimizing them? So that's a really good question for you, because your whole lab is called the optimization, energy.
I know. And I have to say, Chantal, that every so often I think, oh my God, I maybe chose the wrong name for my company, because since I began, so it's called Human Energy Optimization, because that's what it does. It's about optimizing our energy. But the problem is that since I began this, optimization has become such a buzzword, and we have quite a lot of biohackers and people who are, optimization, and so suddenly it becomes like, this kind of extra thing that you add on, and and actually what Human Energy Optimization, my business, is all about, is actually sort of integrating it all into your life. And also I would say, I think maybe I even said in the Energy Lab the other day, we stabilize before we optimize.
Yes, you did. And I loved that. I was like, I gotta remember that one. Stabilize before you optimize. What does that mean? What does that mean?
Well, because what that means is that you can't, like, these things that the sort of wellness culture, the wellness industry are talking about optimizing this, and you've got all these different sort of protocols and supplements and therapies, red light therapy and cold plunges, and all these extra things that kind of sort of optimize. But actually, if you haven't got the basics, if you haven't got some really good quality and enough good sleep, if you're not eating really healthy and the right things, and no ultra processed foods, and if you're moving, you need to be moving, not just exercise, but moving throughout the day. So if these foundational things are not secure, then this optimization, this sort of add-on of sort of the 1%, are really not helping us as much, and they're almost kind of is hoodwinking the right word? I don't know, like distracting us from.
And it makes it almost like, it's interesting how they other people look at it as something that starts off as self-care, then it sometimes actually becomes more another layer of self-pressure. That's what it feels like with that word optimization. It's just putting more pressure on
it. It becomes performative, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And yes, it does sort of lead to a disconnection with our bodies. And the thing is that all of these wellness solutions, they all come from a good intention. Everyone's trying to make everyone feel better, feel more energetic, feel more healthy. But it kind of leads to kind of level of hypervigilance and and anxiety and worrying about what's my sleep score this morning, or before you've even thought, like, how do I feel, and you have to be told by a device that your sleep was poor.
Yeah, it just really leads to people just being, actually, what you said, hyper vigilant, and like another thing that's pressure on them in this whole cycle of trying to get better. And actually that leads me to, go ahead, sorry.
I was only going to say that I would love to see wellness being integral to the way we live. I would like to see it to be just a way of life, not an add-on, not something that you have to deliberately plan and everything. We should be able to have a life. And I know this is, it's unrealistic, and we do, sadly, in this day and age, have to deliberately plan a good and healthy life. But we want to really make it integral to the way that we live. And so, we need to have natural pauses for recovery and for rest. And we need to, it'd be so lovely if we had an environment that enabled us to eat healthy and, not make it so difficult.
It's crazy because I think a lot of people just are go, go, go. A lot of people are just like, oh, I have to achieve, I have to succeed, I have to get better, I have to do better. And that's what leads to burnout, right? Yeah. That burnout word gets used so much everywhere, but I really want to ground it in reality. And everyone says they're tired now. Everyone says that. But from your perspective, what does burnout actually mean in the body? What does that look like?
Well, I mean, burnout is it's an occupational thing, isn't it? It's and it's described as a state of severe physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion caused by prolonged or chronic stress. Yeah, that is what burnout is. But it's really, I would say, it's where the body starts redirecting resources from long-term maintenance to short-term survival. And it's doing that on a long-term basis. Do you see what I mean? So when you think of the energy we need in our bodies, we need it to manage our hormones and our temperature control and our cognition and our emotions and hormone, did I say hormone control? But all these different things. And if we are chronically in a stress state, our body is really just thinking about survival in that instant. So it's not thinking, now's the time to digest my food. It's thinking, I need to sort out this instant acute situation. And so all the things that we need to do long term, like digest our food or like regulate our hormones, all get sort of slightly put on hold whilst we're sorting out this crisis in front of us. But if these crises never stop, then you can see why we have problems with our digestive system or hormones or temperature control or whatever.
And for a long while, I knew people, myself included, who were chronically just depleted in the inside, but then functioning so well on the outside. Yeah. And it's just like, burnout isn't always dramatic. It's not a dramatic collapse. Sometimes it's just surviving in a body that no longer feels supported. I'm wondering, what does that chronic depletion, for me, when I saw somebody who was kind of going through that burnout but chronically depleted, they looked like, you could tell in their eyes, it was like this vacancy, and their speech, the way they talked was just so low and had no emotion to it. And it just, one of the things that I noticed, and I'm wondering if this is true, and this is kind of something I've just been thinking about, to be honest, but when people are going through a very heady stressor in their life, almost equivalent to a burnout, I find people can just, maybe this was the one or two people that I knew, but they just kind of talk in a way that they're repeating themselves over and over about the issue, the situation, the heaviness that's going on in their life, and they can continually are talking about it, not self-regulating in terms of understanding how they're communicating. Actually, that's what I mean. The communication, the way that they look, the way that they're acting, it just even though they're functioning, maybe even going to work still, but they're just depleted. Is that a case that you've seen, or do you understand what I'm trying to get across here?
Yeah, no, I totally understand what you're saying. And yeah, as you said at the beginning, it is a gradual thing, and this is why it sort of creeps up on people, and particularly high performing people can remain in that state for years, right?
Yeah.
And they have that sort of loss of joy, and they're wired but tired. They have less stress tolerance. They're emotionally flat, as you say, right? Maybe brain fog, which can lead to that communication problem as well. And then, you know, they might be sort of constantly battling illnesses, you know, and it's not a joyous way of living.
No,
But it's a rut, and what is required is recovery, and recovery doesn't mean just stopping and doing nothing. Recovery is a process that needs to, you know, it needs really good thought and planning in it, and understanding of what the body actually needs. Recovery isn't just rest. It's you know, good nutrition, and it's moving in a way that's appropriate for your level of energy at the time. So a lot of these high performing people who are in burnout may still be trying to beast themselves in the gym, or, you know, got to push on, got to go do that HIIT session because, you know, that's going to give me more energy. And it's like, well, actually, no, what your body needs right now is down regulation. We need to bring that that sympathetic state, which is when you're in that stress state and your body, you know, everything's like accelerated. We need to bring that right down. We need to drive calm. We need to bring the body and mind into a into a state where recovery is possible. Like
it's so true. I wish more people heard exactly what you said, because I think they keep going and going, thinking, yeah, I'm going to work out. This is going to help me de-stress. And sometimes, absolutely, it can help, the gym. Other times, if you're not so aware of what's going on in your body, it can actually do more good than not. And actually, this kind of, I'm going to skip a little bit because I really want to get into your energy optimization lab, because you had, what was it, 4 or 5 of us in that lab. And I think it was so beautiful to be with another group of women kind of talking about what we're going through in life. And so just tell us about it. How did it start?
Oh, crikey. Okay, so I've been doing so human energy optimization. I've been working one-to-one with clients, and I just thought, actually bringing people together, and also the human energy optimization has been initially for everyone, and then I just thought, actually, I really want to sort of niche down midlife working women, and work can be being a parent or a carer, doesn't have to be that you're, you know, and so first of all, I wanted to niche down, and then I just thought, actually bringing people together into a sort of community, and to kind of carry the momentum and the accountability and the rapport and the energy, right? Like that's where, you know, that's one of the pillars of well-being, is human connection and all of that. So I just thought it was quite fun to bring it all together, and it's really a combination of kind of education, coaching, and insights. So we use this, as I said, First Beat Technologies. We use these heart rate variability monitors that give us a really good insight into how someone's body manages energy, and how what their stress and recovery patterns look like, how well they recover from stressful situations, how restorative is their sleep, what happens after they've exercised, and how much do they move in the day, what happens when they have alcohol, you know, and caffeine, you know. So yeah, so it sort of all came together as one program called the Energy Lab, and I think it's been a success.
You know what? I'm actually wearing my first beat right
That's
now. So
exciting.
I'm excited to see how it's going to deliver now, because we're coming to the end of the
I know.
6 weeks, was it?
Yeah, 6 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm actually interested to see kind of the shift in the little things that I've added. And there've been small little shifts that I've added, but to see how that has manifested into what outcomes the first beat is going to show me. So it's quite interesting, I think.
And that's the key, is that, as you say, the small shifts, like there is going to be no massive transformation over the 6 weeks, but it's setting, it's hopefully a point in time where we shift the mindset a little bit, and we break down some of the barriers and remove some of the expectations that really get in our way of making progress, and start building consistent, practical habits that can last a lifetime, and that really genuinely fit into life, that are not unrealistic, and not like a sort of, it's not like a 6 week kind of yeah, it's not like a boot camp, exactly.
No, I think it was great because you did it once a week. We'd all get together as a group, talk through, learn a little bit more about, ourselves, our bodies, and how we could go and make that change for that upcoming week. And I thought that was really brilliant in terms of getting us to think a little bit more, work in pairs in that group, and just be learning, just, and then also sometimes it was just reminders of things that we probably knew from before, but just reminding us that we can think, aha, yeah, actually this will work in my life, or this is something that I got to remember. So that was really, really helpful. And so I guess my other question is, how do you structure it as a 6 week program?
How
So what do you go through, letting just people know, what do you go through in those 6 weeks?
Okay, so we start off with a little bit of self-awareness, where we are today, where we want to be, what's getting in our way, across the kind of, fitness, food, sleep, etc., just general energy. And then we look at how the actual device works, so that everyone knows how to wear it, and how to get the best data from the technology. And then we go through what I call the energy levers. So we had a session on down regulation and breathing. We had a session on movement, and one on fuel and hormones. And already we're at the end of the program.
No, I know. It's just really...
the final session is all about how we make sure the final session is actually called "This is not the finish line." Because it's starts, because this is this is setting the trajectory. This is working out how we're going to keep on track, how we're going to flag up when we're derailing slightly, how it's a bit of a sort of consolidation, looking over what we've learned over the last 6 weeks, but how we're going to take that forward.
Yeah, I love that. And I think, we talked about this structure of this program being about 3, 2, 1, and the 2 takeaways. And I think just in what you've been saying in the last probably 10 minutes, and also about the human optimization energy lab, so many takeaways just from being part of that particular program that people can get, and to take away and think, oh, actually, I need to think more about how do I optimize my life in the best way possible. So those are the 2 takeaways that I'm going to be using, and hoping that other people take away. So I just want to go and kind of bring this now to just that closing reflection. I want to land the conversation, if you will, gently, because I think a lot of people are going to recognize themselves in what we've talked about today. And for anyone who feels that they're constantly running on empty, pushing through, wondering, why rest never quite feels like enough, what's the one thing that you want them to understand about their body as they go back into their week?
It's tough, isn't it? There's lots of things I'd like them to take away, but if I have to narrow it down to one, I think just the understanding that the body cannot run on pressure and willpower alone and forever. And I always say the body runs on the energy we gain in recovery. Okay, the body runs on the energy we gain in recovery. Okay, so we're only ever going to restore that energy when we take recovery. That's where repair happens. That's where the nervous system down regulates, where energy.
Is that sleep?
Huh?
Is that sleep?
So it's not necessarily just sleep. So recovery is anything that brings the body into a state where repair of cells and tissues can happen, where calm is where we drive calm, and where we just down regulate the nervous system. Yeah. So there are 7 different types of rest, which we talked about in the energy lab. I won't go into all of them now, but it's looking at not just your physical rest in terms of naps and sleep and things, but also emotional rest, sensory, spiritual, all these things. If you look up someone called Dr. Saundra Dalton Smith, she came up with these 7 types of rest, and it's really worth looking into. I'd recommend your listeners look up these 7 different types of rest, because that will help drive recovery.
Love it. Thank you, Sophia. This has been really, really informative. I love the fact that we've been having these kind of conversations where people can actually take some time to think, oh, right, I need to think about my rest and prioritize that, because a lot of people just don't. Thank you for joining me on Self-Care in the City. And to everyone,
really enjoyed it. It's my favorite topic.
Yeah, it's your thing, right? And to everyone listening, if this conversation resonated with you, maybe the goal isn't to become better at overriding your body, but maybe, just maybe, it's about learning how to listen to it differently, right? So with that, again, take care, everyone. We will see you next time. Have a great day.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.